children. And I want to make sure I understand, and I want the members to understand, what identification, what forms of identification will children need to have, since most of them, under the age of 16, don't have a driver's license or an insurance card?
So, first of all, whatever they need today, they need tomorrow. So if they don't need any identification today, they don't need it tomorrow. When SB 4 passes, it doesn't change what is or isn't needed today.
I'm sorry, it's hard. I can't hear you.
So SB 4 doesn't change what they're required to have today or pre or post. So if they're required to have whatever, that didn't change under SB 4. I'm not aware of what a minor is supposed to have for IDs. I think the fact that they're minors doesn't mandate anything that they would have to have. But SB 4 doesn't change that. Current law is current law. It'll be SB 4 says enforce current law.
Except the difference is if that child is detained, either lawfully or unlawfully, and then is asked, following the question by Senator West, by the officer, were you born in the United States? Are you an American citizen? And he says, or she says, yes, I am. Well, let me see your papers. Prove to me, because earlier you mentioned that we would just have to pull out a driver's license or insurance card. Well, those kids don't have driver's license or insurance card. So what are they going to show to that officer, Senator Perry? Because then the officer's, his hands are kind of tied, or her hands are kind of tied. And what's going to happen to that kid? Is that kid going to juvenile? Is that kid going to CP? Are we going to call CPS? What's going to happen?
Whatever happens under
they're going to have to prove
whatever happens under a lawful detainment for those children that you speak to that don't have immigration status on them applies tomorrow. SB 4 does not change that process.
I understand that, Senator Perry, but your bill complicates that.
Actually, it doesn't. But
I think it absolutely does complicate
we disagree, but that's okay.
Well, let's absolutely we disagree.
Absolutely.
We absolutely disagree. But nonetheless, I think that we need to be clear on what the law says. Because I need to go back, and quite frankly, you need to go back and tell your Hispanic constituents, the children, what they're going to need in the event that they're detained either lawfully or unlawfully to prove to that officer that they're an American citizen. And so the question is, whether it's in your bill or your bill intended to do that or not, what does every one of us on this floor tell our constituents? To tell their children what documents they need.
I am sure, as you're aware of, we handle minors differently in our system today. However we handle minors that possibly would be undocumented, once a lawful detainment has occurred, once that process is started, does not change. I do not have the specific documents to tell you what those minor children should have or have on them in the event that that occurs. But we have a federal process in which that occurs, along with a state and local policy that occurs when that event today. SB 4 does not change that scenario.
And you're exactly right. But here's the problem, Senator Perry, because we've never required any of us to prove that we're American citizens, much less our children. So there's never been a problem. If you're here legally, let's say you're from Mexico and you're here as a resident, sure, you're going to have a card. But if you're an American citizen, a Texan, a 15-year-old kid that gets picked up for whatever reason, they've never had to prove they're an American citizen. You see, therein lies the problem, in my opinion, with the bill, because now our constituents are going to have to prove they're American citizens.
So, again, whatever the process is for minor, undocumented children today will be the same process once SB 4 is passed. So, whatever that looks like. And today, I would assume if I'm a minor, undocumented, detained in a commission of a crime, I, at some point in that process, am going to prove my citizenship. I don't know that to be truth or not, but whatever the process is, it does not change with SB 4.
I agree with you on that, Senator Perry. Maybe I'm not making myself clear. If you're an American citizen, born in Texas, born in Lubbock,
Okay.
or San Antonio, a legal citizen that's Hispanic, and the officer has detained you and your child, you're 15 years old, how does that American citizen, 15-year-old kid, either being detained legally or illegally, prove they're an American citizen?
So, if in your situation, a Texas-born American citizen is arrested that happens to be a minor, are the parents contacted?
Well, I'm assuming they are, but the
And
officer's
so-
going to detain them at that time.
So, do you not believe that there are juveniles being detained today for a crime they committed in
Absolutely.
order to have the parents show up?
Absolutely.
So when the parents show up, I assume through that process that there will be verification if needed, if suspected, if pertinent to the case. But again, SB 4 does not change that. So I can appreciate your proposition. I will tell you it already is in effect today. If you are a citizen and you have no reasons to have a driver's license because you have reached age, you will have a birth certificate. You will have other documents that, if it's important to the discussion at hand internal to the police department, the parents of that minor, which they will be contacted, short order, be able to verify if needed. If needed.
So
And
then,
again, I'm not writing police department policy, but that's already in effect today.
so then you make my point, Senator Perry. So we're now going to have to tell our kids they're going to have to carry their papers or birth certificates with them. They're going to have to carry documents. We're going to have to tell our constituents, parents or specifically our Hispanic constituents, you better have papers for your children, even though they're American citizens, born in Texas, in case your kid gets picked up for some dumb reason as a 15-year-old kid. They're now, all of us are going to have to tell our constituents they're going to have to carry their papers.
I would hope, and I know you're a better person than this.
Better person than what?
You're a better person than what I'm about to suggest you're suggesting. I would hope that you as a senator would not go out into your public, if you will, and tell all of your citizens that you must have your papers available for, because I do not believe our police department and our men and women out there, number one, this bill does not require that inquiry. You understand that? SB 4
Does not what? I didn't hear.
SB 4 does not require that inquiry, even at rest. If a minor comes into that facility, SB 4 doesn't say you have to inquire. So there's nothing in here that changes what we do today. Number two, there's nothing in there that forces a police official, a commissioned peace officer, to inquire. That's again one of those hypothetical that creates a whole lot of angst, in my opinion, that's probably not merited. There's nowhere here in SB 4 that requires an officer at any point in the process, arrest, booking, detainment, any of those processes, to inquire.
But it does allow them to, correct?
It does allow, but today the current law allows. The
And-
current law allows today. How many times have you had a constituent call you and say, I had an officer that arrested my 15-year-old minor and he made me come down and verify citizenship. Today, without SB 4, how many times has it occurred?
Very rarely.
Rarely.
If
I would
at all.
suggest to you,
And I do
it doesn't
criminal
happen
defense.
rarely because you've got quality people that are being responsible with their duties as a peace officer, and it was not important enough in that peace officer's discretion to have that inquiry made, except rarely. SB 4 does not encourage nor require that inquiry to occur any more often than what it does today. So when that inquiry was made, rarely there was a process that was filed that fixed the issue at hand. So again, I want to be very clear. The amount of rhetoric and the amount of angst and the amount of problems that are created out there by what this bill or doesn't do is directly, at some level, responsible by the messaging. So to suggest that you've got to tell all your constituents to be paper ready in the event that one of your kids as a minor is taken in, it's just not responsible. As by your own admission, it happened rarely, and SB 4 does not require it to happen any more often than you've already seen it applied.
But Senator Perry, you just said a minute ago that they would call the parents would have to come down and prove whatever
I said,
their citizenship
I
is. And
said-
that's my point. Hold
I
on,
said-
I'll let you finish. My turn. And so that's my point. You're looking at it just from one perspective, the individual that's undocumented. I'm looking at it from the perspective of the individual that is documented, that's legal, but he's a 15-year-old kid. They don't carry it around identification. And so if there's a detainer on an individual that has a common name, a Hispanic surname, that matches that kid, and the identification, he's 5'8", medium built, Hispanic, Hispanic, it describes a lot of us. I just described myself with a certain name. How's he going to prove he's an American citizen until the parents come in, the father's at work, working on a rig? That kid's going to sit in juvenile or CPS unlawfully, even though he's an American citizen. Do you understand my perspective?
I absolutely understand your perception. My question to you today is, does that happen today? Does the scenario you described to me happen today?
No, but with your bill, it will.
Why? Okay, that's not right factually. You just said it happens rarely.
I agree with you. I said it, but with your bill, it's going to happen.
I don't believe it's going to happen any differently.
Well,
Because I trust the peace officers that are administering the law today to administer it tomorrow. Because there's nothing in here that says they have to inquire. They have to ask. But I want to make it clear, I get very much what you're saying. Law-abiding citizens, not residents, but citizens. There's a scenario you painted that happens today, and you said it happens rarely. This doesn't change your fact pattern nor the outcome of how to handle that.
and that's where we'll disagree completely. But to your point about law enforcement, I trust law enforcement, absolutely. But our chief of police from San Antonio says this is a bad bill.
My chief of police says it's okay.
So whose chief of police
So-
are we going to believe?
I don't have to base public policy on who I believe. I have to do what I believe is in the best interest of the state.
And you're basing that based on partly on what your chief of police is.
Absolutely not. I'm not
telling
basing
you.
this bill on what a police officer told me they liked or disliked about the bill.
But you just said your chief of police likes.
Yeah, but you said your police didn't like it, so that's a rebuttal. I mean, we
Fair
can
enough.
play that all day long.
Fair enough. I have no further questions.